Hey, good morning and welcome to the Eddie Hyatt Save America podcast. Hey, if you're watching the news today, you know that America needs saving. I'm sure that you have been following the anti-Israel protest on major American universities. And in many situations, they have turned violent. There is a spirit of anarchy. One picture in my mind is some of these protesters with some kind of, I don't know if it's from a garbage can, makeshift shields, actually running at the police. And so yeah, it's a spirit of anarchy. It's Marxism, and it shows how the educational system in America, especially the colleges and universities, have been taken over by Marxist ideology and by anarchist ideology. I think the two go together in a sense, but the anarchy is what stands out to me. These people are breaking the law, but they feel like that they have a right to break the law. They feel very entitled. Some students had taken over one of the, I think it was at Columbia University, and they had taken over a certain building or room or whatever it was, and they, in their protest, they weren't going to leave, but then they wanted food and drinks to be sent in so that they wouldn't get dehydrated and so on. And so anyway, but I want to talk to you about the biblical answer to this, and also about the answer of America's founders to this. And in a sense, the two go together. Now, anarchy, I call these people anarchists, that many of them are, especially the agitators. And the real agitators of this are outsiders. Most of them are not students. They are outsiders who have seen this as an opportunity to stir up trouble, people who hate America, who hate Christianity, and they have seen this as an opportunity. But anarchy is, and I'm just reading a definition, it's the absence of government. It's a state of lawlessness or political disorder due to the absence of government authority. And it's interesting. There is an absence. These university presidents, and in many situations, the professors are joining the students, and it's a state of anarchy. It's a spirit of lawlessness. And Jesus said one time something like this. Let me see if I can bring up the quote in my mind where he talked about lawlessness. He said that many in that day, talking about the day of judgment, will say to me, "Lord, did we not cast out demons in your name, and do all these mighty works in your name?" And he said, "And I will say to them, depart from me." Now I'm going to quote from the old King James first of all, but tell you what it means. The word there, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you." Now the word in the King James, iniquity, look it up in some of the newer translations, and you'll find that they'll have the word lawlessness, because the Greek word actually means without law. In other words, and this is what we see on these campuses. Now, these people think that they are freedom fighters. They think that they are helping the poor, oppressed Palestinians, whom these terrible, oppressive Israelis are destroying, and so on. And so they think they're deceived, but they think they're doing something good. They think they're the great liberators. But they're anarchists. They're lawless people. They are a law unto themselves. And Jesus said to these people who claim to do all these wonderful works, even for him, he said, "I will say, depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. I never knew you." My friends, Christians are not anarchists. We submit ultimately only to God. But we cooperate with the the present laws of the land. We're not trying to overthrow the governments and so on. We're preaching Jesus, who is the ultimate Messiah and King, and calling people to submit themselves to him. But our purpose, our goal is not a political goal to take over Washington, D.C. Yeah, we want to see Washington, D.C. influenced by the gospel. We want to see presidents and senators submit their lives to the Messiah, to to God's appointed King, to Jesus Christ. But we don't have a political agenda. We have a heavenly agenda to make Jesus Christ known and to call all people, high and low, to give their lives to him. Now, I'm going to be reading some things from the Founding Fathers. And what's going on today in America shows that America is in trouble. And part of the problem is that as a nation, the nation culturally and politically has rejected God and has rejected its founding principles. The Democrat Party officially has done that in 2019. The Democrat National Committee, which is the governing authority for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrat Party, regardless of what they say in public, they have never spoken against this resolution. And this resolution by the Democrat National Committee in 2019 affirmed atheism and declared that neither Christianity nor any religion is necessary for morality and patriotism. That flies in the face of what America's founders said. Let me just read some of the examples. Here is one. And by the way, when you hear the word religion, they are talking about Christianity. Christianity and religion were identified in the minds and the thinking of America's founding generation. So anytime you hear the word religion, as I'm reading, they're talking about Christianity. And Benjamin Rush, who was one of America's preeminent founding fathers. Now, of course, he's not as well known as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and so on, but he was the Surgeon General for the Revolutionary Army. He was chosen by George Washington. He was a physician from Philadelphia. He was also a very adamant abolitionist, and he helped form the first abolition society in America in his hometown of Philadelphia. Have some very powerful writings about him. He also helped found one of the great black churches of America, still in existence today, denomination, the AME. But Benjamin Franklin wrote, "The only foundation for a republic," and he's talking about the fact that they are founding not a democracy, but a republic. And he says the only foundation for a republic is laid in religion, or in other words, in Christianity. Without this, there can be no liberty. And liberty is the object and life of all Republican governments. He says without Christianity, there can be no liberty. Now, why is he saying that? But he's not the only one saying, well, I will elaborate on that in just a moment. But let me read, now that was Benjamin Rush. Let me read what George Washington said in his farewell address after serving 2 terms. He urged the new nation, he delivered this in 1796, to hold on to and to maintain religion and morality. Or we could say, this is what he was saying in his mind, Christianity and morality. Don't let go of those, he said. He called them indispensable supports for national prosperity. Notice he didn't say that Christianity and morality should be tolerated. No, he said they are indispensable, and he urged the nation to hold on to them, to maintain Christianity and morality, because they're indispensable for political prosperity. Then he went on to say, he went on to call these the great pillars of human happiness. What were the great pillars of human happiness in Washington's mind? Christianity and morality. But then he went on to point out how the two have to go together. He said both reason and experience forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious or Christian principle. He said there can be no national morality if Christian principles are excluded. That's a very powerful statement from the first president. National morality cannot be maintained, cannot prevail in exclusion without Christian principle. Boy, has there ever been, especially in the last 60 years, an incredible war on Christian principle by the political left, by the secularists of this country, seeking to purge all Christian principle. You know, we see this in the removal of Ten Commandment displays in public, the removal of crosses. One situation in Mississippi, somebody sued a school because their band in their school band in their repertoire of songs, all secular songs except one, but that they would play at public events and football games, they would play How Great Thou Art. Somebody sued, and a left-wing judge ordered them to remove How Great Thou Art from their repertoire of songs. George Washington said, national morality cannot prevail apart from Christian principle. That's why we as Christians, we have to let our voices be heard, or we are going to lose America if we don't. And we must pray for a national spiritual awakening across this land. Let me read to you what John Adams, one of the best known and most prominent of America's founding fathers, and the second president. He was the vice president to George Washington and the second president. 2 weeks before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Adams wrote a letter to his cousin, Zabdiel Adams, who was a minister of the gospel. And listen to what he said. He said, statesmen, my dear sir, may plan and speculate for liberty, but it is religion. What was he have in mind? He said Christianity. But it is Christianity and morality alone which can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand. You see how Adams, Washington, Rush, they're all saying the same thing. You can't have liberty without Christian principle, without morality. Why is that? Why are they saying this? Because we live in a fallen world. We live in a sinful world. And what we're seeing in these protests is the worst of fallen humanity coming out. And these sorts of people, they have to be controlled by force, by outward laws. They can't be trusted with freedom. They turn freedom into anarchy. They turn freedom into their misguided, selfish pursuits. But you see, when there is Christian principle and morality, people are guided from within by the best of their human nature. And especially, when there's Christian and they're truly born again Christians, and then there is that new impulse to do what is good, to do what is right. And so those are the kind of people that can be trusted with liberty and freedom, because they will use their freedoms to do good, to do what is right. But ungodly people, they will use freedom, they will turn it into anarchy and cause chaos and trouble and suffering. Statesmen, my dear sir, may plan and speculate for liberty, but it is Christianity and morality alone which can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand. That would have been in 1776. So 86, 96, 22 years later, he was he was speaking, John Adams, while he was president, he was speaking in Massachusetts, making a speech in 1798, in which he said this. He said, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious or Christian people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other." So we are at a crossroads in America, in our culture, in our political system. I believe this year we are at a crossroads. Are we going to continue down this road away from God, away from Christianity, away from Christian principle, away from Christian morality? If we do, then the nation that was founded, that has been such a blessing to so many millions of lives all over the world, will be lost. And so it is time for Christians to take a stand for righteousness. Let your voice be heard. Yes, in a Christian way. Don't compromise, never compromise the truth. But as Paul said, speak the truth in love. Not in arrogance, not in anger, but speak the truth in love. For heaven's sake, speak the truth. Never be intimidated by those anti-Christian forces on the left. It's time for Christians to stand up and to save America. Hey, I'm Eddie Hyatt. I am going to post this on the Eddie Hyatt podcast. I'll also be uploading it. And I hope you'll get my book. You see there in front of you, that is the book 1726. And it holds a real key for saving America, because it clearly defines and articulates where we are today and what needs to be done, and clearly articulates the founding vision of America's founders. And so this is the kind of thing that is being written, that has been and is continuing to be expunged and eliminated in our public schools and colleges. This is the information that they have deleted, and they don't want their students to hear about how America came forth actually out of a great spiritual awakening. So I encourage you, get this book for yourself, your pastor, any teachers that you know, especially who teach church history, any principals, superintendents. Hey, we can, if we will be obedient, trust God, look to Him, we can save America from the forces that are trying to destroy her. I'm Eddie Hyatt. I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.